Hello, my friend.
Well, hello.
It's good to see you.
You too.
All right, so I was lucky enough, Dan sent me an advance copy of this when he finished it, and I hope you saw some of it today, right? Everybody, we showed them as much as we could today. It's so good and so important, and I'm so proud of you. I love you, and I'm a fan anyway of your music and you, but I think this is really cool. So explain where you grew up and a little bit about who you are and how this happened.
Cool. Yeah, I grew up in Las Vegas, raised Mormon, family of 9, so 8 boys, 1 girl. And yeah, Mormonism is, anybody who's raised Mormon knows that it's not like a religion where you just go on the holidays or something. It's like your whole life is based around it. I was a little rebellious growing up, not anything crazy, but always a little bit of like the black sheep of the family. And then ended up getting kicked out of BYU, which is like the Mormon college that you go to. And I got kicked out for having sex with my girlfriend of 4 years. And that was a really devastating moment for me. A lot of kind of like needless shame and guilt. And it was the first time that I really felt conflicted, where my heart and my mind didn't align. I felt like, why is this thing that feels right also something that gets me kicked out of college and shames me in my community and made me feel all this guilt? And I don't know, that's kind of where my first, I felt like something needed to change, I guess. You know, I grew up and I had a lot of friends who were gay and Mormon. They couldn't come out to their parents. They couldn't even come out to me because we just wouldn't talk about it. But it was kind of known, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And watching their struggle for me was awful. And then feeling a bit of shame in my life over something I shouldn't have been shamed about helped me to kind of identify to some degree with what our LGBTQ youth face all the time within Orthodox religion, which is feeling guilt and shame about something that's beautiful and perfect and normal.
Right.
And
yep. So you're feeling all that, and but what made you? Because it's one thing to feel all that and to talk about it, kind of low key, because you have a career, you're doing very well. What made you decide to be so vocal about it?
You know, I have an incredible therapist, which I'm trying to destigmatize that word as much as possible because I think it's really powerful to have a therapist, who told me I needed to live my truth. And it was something I've known for a long time, but I hate to hurt people's feelings. And I love my family. I never want to disrespect my family or Mormonism or anybody, you know, because I just believe that you can't ever understand someone else's story. You can't speak for them. You shouldn't judge them. But on the same note, you know, he told me basically, you need to offend people sometimes. You have to speak your truth. And if you don't, you're just kind of suffocating. Like, you're not even living. And I realized I hadn't been. And so for me, one of my big truths that I needed to speak, that I felt a weight about, was guilt. And I'd lived with it. Like every Imagine Dragons song, I know most people think like they're about like radioactive like zombies or something, but they're really not. It's all about really a lot of guilt that I've dealt with since I was very young, and depression and things that stemmed from unnecessary judgment.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
So you're helping so many people by doing this. I just have to say, the Utah youth suicide, the leading cause of death for Utah kids ages 11 to 17 is suicide. Suicide in Utah has increased 141% because of the shame they feel from the Mormon Church. Nationally, the rate increased an average of 6%. LGBT youth are at 8 times higher risk of suicide because of this shame that society puts on them. So it comes from every angle, you know. I mean, speaking as someone who grew up knowing that every magazine is a man and a woman, and every billboard is a man, you know, it's just, even if it's not spoken, it's just you know that you're not part of what you're supposed to be. So for you to speak out and to do something like this is going to help so many people. You're going to save so many lives. So I thank you, and there are going to be so many kids that are going to be alive because of you, because of what you're doing. And not to disrespect any religion at all, but sometimes I think when you're raised in a certain, they get inside your head, and it's just repetition from generation to generation to generation, as you see in this documentary that you've put out, that people don't even think for themselves anymore. They're just doing what they think they're supposed to do because of this religion. Tell everyone, last week you asked your mother this question, and tell them what you asked and what she said.
Yeah, I think this is an important question because it really sheds a light on what it's like to be conflicted about your faith, but also what you feel in your heart. So me and my mom have had a lot of dialogue about this. My whole family's super active Mormons still. I qualify myself as a Mormon, but a unique Mormon. And so I was sitting down with my mom, and I asked her, Mom, and this is probably a terrible question to ask of your mom, but we were arguing about things, not arguing, but yeah, we were arguing a little bit. And I said, there were 2 train tracks, and I was tied on one, and the other was like, I think I said like Jesus or God or Joseph Smith, something that symbolized a lot of weight to my mom spiritually. And I said, both these trains were coming. Who are you gonna save? And my mom was just kind of silent, and I think she just said, I can't answer that question. I don't know. And for me, I have 3 daughters. I'm like, come on, this is like such a no-brainer. Like, I would save my daughter. And the thing is, I know my mom said that. I know 100% my mom would be running over, untying me, and be like, getting me off the train track. There's no question. But for her to see how conflicted she was, even with that question, and me being far enough removed from, like, taking a step back from religion and spirituality even, to, like, deal with, like, my own things. I don't know, it was like, I know my mom, I know what she would do, but that really reflected to me how, when it's in, it's your everything. Mormonism is like everything. Judaism is your everything. It's your culture. It's like, when you're raised in these really orthodox religions, it's, you can't separate between who you are and what this was that was taught to you every day. And if you don't, that can be really dangerous if you're taught things that are incorrect.
Yeah. Not that anyone is teaching hate, but any kind of intolerance is basically, it's a different form of judgment and not accepting. And it's really hard for me to not understand that we should love our uniqueness. We should love how individual we all are, and that's what makes us special, is how different we all are.
Hi, I'm Andy. Ellen asked me to remind you to subscribe to her channel so you can see more awesome videos, like videos of me getting scared or saying embarrassing things, like ball peen hammer, and also some videos of Ellen and other celebrities, if you're into that sort of thing.